Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Transpicuous Views. It is, what, May 7th already? Like, seriously? We're already through a week of May? I don't know. Fuck, dudes. Like, I've now decided the days are about 10 hours long each, and that includes your sleeping time. So, I don't know. The days get any shorter, I'm just going to go from sleep to sleep. Oh, that might be easier in the Android. Tonight, I have a guest joining me. I have a feeling we got some rabbit holes to dig down through. I have Jordan Sather with me from Destructing the... Wait, say it again. I always say it wrong.
Destroying the Illusion. Random name. Random name. I'm like,
I always want to say destructing.
Destructing it. Yes, yes. Hi.
Yes. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest of America here.
It was a pretty darn nice day down here in Southern Europe, too.
I think you get those all the time, though. You get those more than me, so I'm like, I cherish them.
Yeah, we get a little more sunshine than you guys do. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, first off, before we get started, so I want you to give me the 1-2 minute, give me your blurb about your YouTube channel.
Oh, my YouTube channel.
Just a little bit for people who don't know you, the kind of shit you cover.
Everything. Everything. Every single thing I can get my hands on. About half the videos I do on my YouTube channel are just news updates. And then I try to throw in as much objective opinion as I can, but I make it all, I just try to be a way shower with it. I'm like, hey, this is what I've seen, these dots connecting in my head, so go check it out. Then the other half of the videos I do are just whatever I feel like researching. I do it just kind of on a whim, whether it's Antarctica this day or it's DNA this day, or man, I think people need to understand some, I don't know, how to detox themselves this day, or so it's really intuitive with how I do it. But that's my YouTube channel. And lately, you can see it progress, too. So if you go through the videos, scroll through them, it'll be maybe 10 to 15 of them were this thumbnail because I was going through this phase. And then these 10 were just like pointing the camera at my face. And now it's my whiteboard face, right? Everybody's asking my whiteboard face.
Everyone's like, where's the whiteboard? Where's the whiteboard?
It's so convenient, though, because it's just me writing. It keeps my thoughts in line, really, because it's writing down this point, this point, this point. And then I'm like, hey, and then I link everything down below. What a concept. Linking why I understand these things. I don't see anybody do that in the alt media, or very few people on their YouTube, in the reporters' YouTubes, they don't really link anything, and they just want to rant and talk shit about each other.
And you're going to freak out and be like, yo, a lovely news story. Where's your fucking links? Where'd you get it from?
Right?
Right. Yeah. It's like the bane of my existence.
What a concept.
And I'll go, well, this is a lovely article, and it would have been really nice if they put some sources.
Yeah.
Or
opinions. If it's just opinions, I love hearing opinions. I love hearing constructive criticisms, but it's not about like what's going on. It's all people talking crap about each other, and I don't know. It's ridiculous to me. So I just take my videos and I'm like, hey, this is how I see the world going on, and I suggest you might want to think about it this way too. So
yeah. You may want to think of a different perspective.
Yeah, one that's not so divisive. Like, we're all in this together. We're all trying to figure what's going on here and why we're here. So just, I don't know, have fun with it. I try to have humor with it. I really do. But it's really awkward. Okay. It can be. You get used to it.
You get to a point Well, you have to laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I joked for a long time back in like November, December, when they were coming out really hard against, alternative media and how they're
the fake news shtick.
down alternative media. And I was joking, saying, okay, because I'm going to turn my show into a comedy show. And I'll just label it won't be news.
Yeah, right. Don't want to piss off the corporate masters.
No. It's just me taking the piss.
Say, Pizzagate is false, and I'm going to say it with a smile. No UFOs exist. Aliens aren't real. They can't get me for saying those things, can they?
Yeah, they can probably. They'll find a way. Trust me.
Right. They would still find a way.
But you would know this because you're Illuminati. So, I mean, that's really interesting though, and that kind of continues my resolve. Is just I see people literally, there will be hired trolls to go after people, and then when they do that, the psychological operations are so much more deeper than people realize. And especially in the last month or so, we've seen a lot of world events occur, and I've seen even in the alt media, people get that emotional reaction, and it literally shuts down their critical thinking centers in their brain, and they go into all kinds of ass backwards, illogical things they say. So relax, just chill, have a laugh with it, and let's see what's going on. Just chill. Well, I put out an article today talking about politics and the fear porn. Because, of course, right now it's North Korea. Oh, my God, North Korea. Oh, my God,
North Korea. Black hole right there. They're going to do something.
Guys, I swear I wish I had a tape recorder. So I could just go here it is, North Korea. Oh, what was this? This is 2014. North Korea. Oh, wait, this is 2015. Okay, North Korea. Okay.
Or Zika.
Right.
Or anything.
Yeah. Look at Syria. Look at Syria. No. It's getting too hot over there. Quick, look at North Korea. Okay, no. We won't go there. Look at Ukraine. It's definitely going on in the Ukraine. And then, it's like, no, Venezuela.
John McCain just penned an article for the WAPO a few days ago trying to say, why aren't the Americans in Ukraine? The freaking Warhawk, Mr. Warhawk himself, against the most CIA rag itself, WAPO, Washington Post. Kills me.
Yeah.
So.
No. Yeah, John McCain, I actually take the piss out of him regularly on Transpicuous News because it's just fun. There's certain characters I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
I gotta take the piss.
I'm wondering when his bionic suit is gonna break down, just malfunction. Man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Well, I mean the North Korea thing and what I'm watching is the fact of you're seeing so many people being triggered, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like Syria was like, that's so last month, right? Well, we're not going to be afraid of Syria now, but now we're going to have all our attention on North Korea.
I think Syria and North Korea are kind of two different situations, though. I think North Korea is the proxy that's just trying to. It's a cabal proxy, you could say, that's just trying to start war, and they're like this little black hole. They're not going to do anything, really. And we see the missiles. We've seen 2 or 3 missiles get shot down or just malfunction. So I'm like, okay, they're trying to start war with that. It's not going to work. There's no worry at all. But in Syria, I think Syria was a play against ISIS because we're seeing ISIS, destruction. So there's interesting things going on.
And we should get back into the Syria thing too, because there's a lot of interesting fucking
little tidbits. Yeah, little tidbits.
The ancient history and the fact that they're tearing apart all these old temples and monasteries.
Oh, the vortex, the goddess vortex energy of the region per se.
Well, I mean, just not just that, but they're burning books, burning manuscripts, and not just in Syria. I mean, they're doing it in Yemen as well. They're doing it in Iraq as well, right?
It's almost like they're trying to just burn all their traces, all the traces of them.
Well,
or
history's bullshit.
Yes.
We know history's fun. Everything we've been taught about history is just complete and utter bunk. I mean, more and more things are coming up now where they're discovering temples and where the carbon dating puts these temples at like 10,000 years old. Like, wow, and how does that fit with your biblical rhetoric?
They found some people in California 130,000 years ago. They've now pinpointed it.
Absolutely. But I'm talking now, I'm talking the completely mainstream, and they're trying to not comment on it. So
right, they're like, I don't know what's going on.
The fact that this doesn't fit with the fact that the planet's only 6,000 years old. Right. But with Syria, in Yemen, and also in Iraq, you're talking about huge amounts of written knowledge, huge amounts of things like even just, hieroglyphics, carvings on walls that don't add up to the story anymore. And as they're going in, it is as if they're trying to wipe out any historical remains they can get their hands on. And it's not just, for example, it's not just the archaeological type shit. It's not like the old monasteries that are way up in the mountains back in fucking Afghanistan, right? And Pakistan. It's also things like the native peoples. So you have small tribes of peoples who, and one of them, the name's just gone right out of my head. And they're basically, there's only about 50,000 of these people left in the entire world. They're the last remaining people who still speak ancient Aramaic in their daily conversation. That's their language, is the original Aramaic, which is, the language the Bible was written in. And they're being wiped out. And it's like, it doesn't matter kind of which regime is in charge. It's like, okay, here comes ISIS. Before them, it was al-Nusra. Before them, it was Al-Qaeda. Before them, it was the Taliban. And they're getting wiped off the planet. Oh, okay, why are you going after this one small, tiny little group of people? Would it be because perhaps they have some little secrets? Perhaps maybe they have some pieces of information that could get out there?
Yeah, they could have written myth. They could have some real answers in their language, or it could be genetics. They're trying to wipe those specific genetics off the planet.
And and that's the whole thing. Okay, so the genetics thing is a really big one because that's just blowing up everywhere. It seems like every rabbit hole I chase down right now ends up coming back to genetics, DNA, and you sit there and you're going, genetics, changing genetics.
Yeah.
Changing that. I mean, that was our show last week. We talked about the fact of the pollutants, aluminum, strontium, barium, in chemtrails, in vaccines, etc., and the fact that they can actually alter your heritable genes. So in i.e., it doesn't now have to be the child is vaccinated and becomes autistic, because we have a huge amount of unvaccinated children who are now showing symptoms of autism, among other things. But now the parents are vaccinated, the grandparents are vaccinated, and in some cases, the great-grandparents are vaccinated. And it all becomes a genetic row of dominoes.
Yeah, people don't realize diseases are genetic, but they're genetic because we screwed up our genetics. And that's why epigenetics is becoming such a big thing. But there absolutely is I call it a systematic destruction of the human condition, or destabilization of the human condition. Chemtrails, vaccines, fluorides, aluminums, mercuries. We were talking, DNA acts as an antenna, right? That was the that was the article that I found on your website that I linked to in my DNA video from GW Hardin. And if DNA acts as an antenna, well, then we have 6 billion people on this planet. If we harmonize together with all of our antennas at the same time, that's some pretty how altering of our reality could we do if we all came together? I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's how the pyramids were all made. And the research I found is that enough people coming together can alter matter. They did it with various frequencies of thought and sound, and they actually made the bricks more massless. That's how they were able to move them through their own electromagnetic frequencies. Well, if we had, people of this planet with a pure DNA, who are essentially the way show, or you could call them the leaders of the pack in regards to how they tune everybody else. Maybe that's who's being wiped off the planet. Always been that way with the Mayans, hundreds of years with the Mayans, various Native Americans.
All Native.
Go through all the Native Americans, and now with the Syrians and other indigenous cultures in general has always just been vilified. And those that came from Africa as well. I believe Black people probably have more pure genetics, That's why the racism shtick, you know, they were brought over from Africa. Racism became, like you said, it's not a this nation, that nation thing. It's, you have to think of it as powers that be versus us. So yeah, it's always been hey, let's completely give people a lack of self-knowledge about who they really are, about their DNA, about what they can do together, and try to ethnically cleanse, and also genetically just screw up the people through their food and vaccines and whatnot.
Well, yeah, and ethnically cleanse, and well, let's not even say it like you say. Never mind ethnically cleanse, but it's fact of life. Different peoples from different areas of the world have different genetic structures or different pieces that they carry, right? So if you've got certain pieces that are considered undesirable, then they start wiping out the pieces that carry those genetics. And it's totally plausible. And this is when we talk about the natives, all the native indigenous communities all over the world. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the Eskimo and the Inuit in Russia, in Greenland, in Canada, and the States, or you're talking about the First Nations people down in South America, Africa, China, you name it. They've done multiple studies that have shown that they have different genetic characteristics. Vastly, some of them, in some of the cases, vastly different genetic characteristics. Well, then we look at the whole thing of, like, you know, junk DNA.
I was just,
junk
our DNA just sunk up right there, because I was thinking, right, as you were saying, that we have the part that's vastly different is that 5 to 7% that's the coding proteins. So how different or similar is the rest of the junk DNA in all of those tribes? I see where you're going with this. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
The questions. It's like, there's so many times where I'm like, I should have gone to school and become a geneticist. Oh well, too late.
Proud college dropout right here. I'm glad.
Yeah, I never even went, because there was nothing offered in any university that I wanted to actually spend that much money to study.
Yeah, I'm kind of right. Ridiculous. So anyway, the genetics is insane.
Which was my thing, was ancient history, and I'm like, really, what am I going to do with a PhD in ancient history? Nothing. Because I certainly didn't want to be a teacher. It's like, really, there's nothing you can do with it. So why would I spend $100,000 to get one?
I know. Science is just a huge, like, pet peeve of mine. It really grinds my gears how they just jack science up and make it a religion in and of itself. So that's a huge thing that I do on my videos, is try to incorporate a lot of science into the picture and be like, we have to literally unlearn and relearn. The relearning part isn't tough. When you start connecting the dots, they all just fit in together. You're like, makes total freaking sense. But it's the unlearning. It's having to, like, scrub your brain. And
well, you don't. Sometimes you don't know where the program lies until you come face to face with that brick wall. You know, like gravity.
Right.
Oh, okay, it's not what you think it is. It's not what your grade 10 science teacher told you it was. So you got to break through that brick wall, and then all of a sudden, some of the other walls are a hell of a lot easier to break through, right?
That is true. There's certain ones, and they differ for everybody. And I think it always depends on the person's experience. If, for instance, you've had a lot of people in your life that might have passed away from cancer or some type of disease, it might be looking at alternative cancer treatments. That's your that's your dark night of the soul subject. Or say you've had a lot of people in your family in the military. Well, seeing the military as a war machine, that might be, I live in a military town. There's like 3 military bases right around me. So it's an interesting mix where I'm at. There's a lot of lefties, per se, a lot of young liberal minds, and then a lot of righties, a lot of conservatives. So I've been in the middle of that really tense mix. And
that must be delightful for you.
Man, the people here are just interesting.
Like when you walk around with a piece of tape over your mouth going, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything.
I walk around, trigger here, trigger here, trigger everywhere.
The whole thing about the science. So, for example, I know a lot of people are very intimidated by science. And when you start, especially when we start talking genetics, right? And I've dug into the whole genetics thing multiple times over the years. And it's, a lot of people come to me afterwards and go, okay, I tried to read your article. I really, really did. But it's just like my brain stopped when it was like adenosine triphosphate, and my brain just went.
Yeah. There was a comment on my DNA video, and it said, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but it's so freaking interesting that I'm still watching it. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, it's okay. I barely understand it too, but I'm just trying. I'm trying.
You know, it's hey, look, we're all still in school.
That's a beautiful
School
thing.
Life, and the classes that happen every single time you open a computer, read a book, talk to someone, right?
Class is in session once you open your eyeballs.
Yeah. So we deal with the science, right? And we talk about, for example, genetics, DNA. We'll really get into that in a second, but the genetics. Without getting into like literally university level science classes, when you can give yourself a fundamental grasp of certain things, how your body works. I mean, you know, to the best that we can, because really even medicine and science doesn't really.
Yeah, they're fucking clueless.
We don't really know how our bodies work. They guess a lot and they try, but for the most part. But once you start to get some of the basic understanding of, like, for example, the endocrine system, the hormones that your pituitary, your pineal gland.
Holy moly.
To understand the processes that coincide. And then what they, the quintessential they, are doing to interrupt, to try and stop, to try and cripple, if you will, or even turn off in some cases.
It all boils down to the nervous system. That's it. All the other systems of hormonal, endocrine, and whatnot, it all boils down to your nervous system. Because we
we could debate that one, Guy. We could debate that one.
Do it. Talk to me. What's your thought?
Well, I mean, going back to, we're talking DNA, and we're talking about the communication. And that's where I wanted to go to, was the whole thing about antenna, right? Your DNA as a fucking antenna.
It's so cool, bro. It's a freaking antenna.
It's a fucking antenna. Well, think about aluminum, and I talked about this last Sunday. Those big, tall things they put on the top of houses in the 70s and the 80s. What did they call those? Antennas? And they were made of? Oh, aluminum. Aluminum, right? So they basically flood your entire fucking body, like from the air you breathe to the injections in you, with aluminum to try and... No,
it really is. It really all boils down to the nervous system, though, because us being beings of light, you look at the word aluminum, or anti, and lumina is light, so it's anti-light. And when there's aluminum in everything, you know, cans and chemtrails and vaccines and our food is anti-caking agents and salts and white breads with aluminum as well. Then you look at fluoride. Tell me how much stuff has fluoride in it.
Everything.
I have 10 fingers. You have 10 fingers. Let's go.
I have toes.
You have toes?
Toes, yes. Here's the thing, though. The one thing is that aluminum and fluoride mix. And when they bind together, it makes the aluminum 10 times more powerful, and it makes the fluoride 10 times more powerful. The neurological effects of fluoride are like magnified by God knows how much.
This is why when the FDA studies chemicals, they only study one at a time. And then they'll alter the data, which is really easy to do. I've taken a basic stats class when I was, failing out of college. I'm like, oh, you can mess stuff up really easy here. So they study one at a time, and they never see compounding effects. But like you just said, it's like 10 or 50 times more powerful. So then we have the aluminum, the fluoride goes right across the blood-brain barrier into our hippocampus. It's Alzheimer's, autism.
Yep.
But holy crap, the EPA has 85,000 registered carcinogens, and oh my gosh, how many screws up our bodies? So it's the genetics. They're trying to just take us off ourselves, and they don't tell us how to fix it.
And they're failing, fucking miserably.
And it's beautiful to see, though.
I know, it's a beautiful thing to watch them fall on their faces over and over and over again. That's the one thing I find really, really interesting. When you go back and you look at the history of vaccines, of the uses of some of these chemicals, like lithium, and the vaccines, the aluminum, the mercury, et cetera, back to the 50s. Like, let's go right back. Generationally.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Garth Nicholson?
No.
That name doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, someone says they totally enjoy my videos on detox. I'm all into health. I managed a health food store for like years. So Dr. Garth Nicholson, he's a microbiologist, I believe at Stanford. He's a real well-renowned dude. He has a couple of videos where he's talking about what's called mycoplasma. And
Yeah.
mycoplasma are quite literally bio-warfare agents, bioengineered. And you can't test for them with normal tests. So a lot of people have them and don't even realize. And what they do is they attach onto our cells and they suck the cholesterol out of cells. So, yep, there you go. So they suck the cholesterol out of cells, and you need cholesterol. You need that fat for energy production, ATP, like you were saying, which is why, again, the cholesterol shtick from mainstream medicine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, bad cholesterol. Don't eat those avocados. They're high in cholesterol.
It's cholesterol meds as well, ATP. It's all about that, ATP. But these mycoplasma, well, basically, it's what I think is the biggest factor in autoimmune disorders like fibro and chronic fatigue. All the ones people are like, I don't know how, but you just have no energy and you hurt all the time. So it's these mycoplasmas. And Garth Nicholson showed that vaccines are heavily contaminated in them.
Well, okay, so here you go. So you talk about, for example, the autoimmune diseases, and you talk about, for example, ME. The one where you're exhausted all the time, you have literally no energy and physical pain that you're in, etc.
Chronic fatigue.
So you talk chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
You talk about when you go up the ladder, like so you're Guillain-Barré, and then you've got all these other pieces that come in, and they're all polio.
Oh yeah, yeah, polio.
The vaccines again.
One of your original articles on polio, again, like 4 years ago, circling back around again, that was a big one that helped me connect a lot of dots too. Because you're like, you said in this article, oh my gosh, acute myelitis or whatever, that's polio.
Yep. Acute classic myelitis. Yep.
Oh, this one's polio. And then there's a guy I follow closely on Facebook. His name is Jason Christoff. He does a lot of research into vaccines. He's like, oh, polio never even existed. It was actually caused by pesticides and all these poisons they were testing on us in the 50s. And then this vaccine comes in at the very tail end of the 50s when actually most diseases were kind of being eliminated in the first place from just people eating better. Wow, polio. Yeah, and this polio vaccine comes in, and what was that? The SV40 infected 100 million people with cancer. So,
well, you got to think, Jonas Salk in the early 50s. So I think the Salk vaccine was released in 56, I think.
Wasn't he a eugenist?
Don't want to go there. Don't even want to go there. Like you want some fun research? Go look up Jonas Salk.
I will go there. We need to expose these bastards.
Oh yeah. So they spent, I think it was $2.5 billion. Okay, now I want to put that in perspective. $2.5 billion in the 50s.
Oh, that is true. That's probably like 100 now.
That's the equivalent of like an entire deficit for a country for a year. Okay, that's what they spent on his research to develop the polio vaccine. And they have to prove, they've got to have something to come back. They got to have something, they got to be able to prove that this money was well spent. And like I said, it was the big joke. It was like, oh, so they bring out the vaccine and the first year there is no drop in polio cases. And so they changed the symptoms of polio. They totally went in.
There's a little rewriting. They just rewrote, and then everybody started getting meningitis.
Meningitis.
Polio go down.
So the numbers for polio went down, but the numbers for meningitis like skyrocketed the next year because all these people had meningitis, which was actually polio.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got cancer. They knew, and actually on one of my blogs, one of my old blogs, Informed Parenting, I have the recording in there of them talking about the fact, it was a recording done in the 60s, about the fact that they knew there was cancer in the polio vaccine. They knew it. And they still allowed it to go ahead. Okay, so you have cancer. Now we're talking about genetics. You inject all these things that turn off your own immune system, because that's how vaccines work. In order for, even by their own fucking ridiculous science, that vaccine to work, you have to turn off the person's immune system for it to accept the vaccine. So you turn off the immune system, which is the oral polio vaccine was just, the original vaccines were just horrific. You turn off the immune system, you douse it full of cancer, and you douse it full of all these chemicals. Now, there's a lot of other shit that was in there too. I mean, but, and then you blanket it across an entire populations, like basically across most of the world.
On one hand, your brain, you know, once you get to a level of understanding of that, exactly what you said, you're like, God, the human body is amazing. How much shit have we all endured? And yeah, you know, cancer rates are 1 and 2, and America has the highest infant mortality rate in the world. But on the other hand,
not in the world, in
really?
developed nations. The highest infant mortality rate in developed nations.
Oh, okay, that's true. Okay, I like that. Asterisk. Asterisk. But understanding that, you think, oh, how is this awakening occurring with that just bombardment to our bodies and our brains and our DNA? Yeah, and it really kind of blows your mind. But then you understand the potential where we could be if we truly ate right and detoxified ourselves and took all the...
No, and I agree. I mean, that was what we talked about last week on last week's show, like the fact that we all need to start looking at, and we've actually started a little group in the RTS forum, looking at daily stuff, like kind of making a daily diary.
Yeah.
What did we see in the
journaling's huge.
How you
journaling
feel
is the easiest thing to do to really help yourself.
What are you eating exactly? And then looking at, for example, Anne Callahan was on with me last week, who's a homeopath in Ireland. So we talked about the homeopathics, and we talked about, we're going to be doing a lot of work with that in 2 weeks' time when the Unfuckers gathering happens here in Malta. Yeah, I'm going to be her guinea pig, and she's going to, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, sell a bunch of homeopathic stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff. But when you look at what they've tried to do, and you look at, look at the smallpox vaccine, one of the most toxic things that was ever put out there. It wiped out masses of people, wiped out Hawaii. Hawaii was devastated when they brought the smallpox vaccine to Hawaii that had never had a case of smallpox ever. And then it was something ridiculous. I think it was something like 35% of the island population died because of the smallpox vaccine, because they all got smallpox.
Fear. Yeah. It's the fear in it.
And then you look at, so our parents, in some cases our grandparents, and then the vaccines come in, and you have like the 70s where, again, they have big push on. You've got measles, mumps, rubella, and you've got, your DTaP, your pertussis, and your whooping cough, and all of these things. Still nothing compared to what they do today, but, and the ante. And every time I go through all of the research and look back, it's very obvious that they thought, to me anyways, it's obvious to me, that it seems like they thought they had it covered. Oh yeah, we're just going to do this, and that's it. Problem's over, right? And then you have like the 70s came in, and they didn't have the problem solved at all. So you see this boost, and they start with more chemicals, more of these other bits, and then you see changes in legislation about different things in healthcare, about how they're going to manage this. And it's almost like every decade you see this push, and it's getting more desperate, to the point of now it's like extreme desperation, where countries are bringing like mandatory vaccine laws.
Yeah.
It's their own constitutions and their own. But these mandatory vaccine laws are completely fucking illegal by the country's own laws.
The powers that be are like, oh shit, oh my God, we're gonna die. So they're trying to, cleanse us as much as they can, but it's failing. It's so beautiful to see.
Well, this is it. You look at everything we've experienced, even the last 5 years. Crazy fucking shit that we've experienced, right? And I said, we all might be going through it kind of handicapped. I know I feel relatively handicapped.
A little bit. Yeah.
my brain just doesn't quite function the way it should. I have short-term memory issues, I trip and fall down a lot when the world decides to go sideways. But look what we're doing. Like we're still, it's like maybe they've kind of tried to hold us back a little bit and tried to hang on to our shirt tails, so to speak. But we still just keep going forward and forward and forward and forward. And nothing they're doing is actually doing what I think they wanted it or thought it would do, i.e. the aluminum, i.e. the mercury, all of these chemicals that when you look at when you research them and you look at what, aluminum toxicity and lithium overdosing, and you actually go look at what they cause, you sit there and go, holy shit, we should all be dead. No, really, we should all be dead.
Yeah. That's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I was walking into like a Fred Meyer the other day and I saw a big old pallet of Coca-Cola right there. And in my head, I'm literally like, oh my God, understanding that in high fructose corn syrup, 50% of samples are contaminated with mercury in high fructose corn syrup. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, there is, and I actually literally calculated, I'm like, I went home, did some research. I'm like, there's this many I'm like, I estimated, I think there's this many Cokes and this many on this pallet. And I'm like, this many grams of high fructose corn syrup. So there's this many milligrams of mercury in that whole freaking pallet. And I actually calculated the number. I went up and looked on the emergency, like poison control center. If there's a mercury spill of a certain amount, oh, I wish I would have kept that little piece of paper I had this on. If there's a mercury spill of a certain amount, they have to call the poison control center and the hazmat teams have to come in. And
one thermometer.
Yeah, right?
In Canada, I have a friend of mine who's a pharmaceutical assistant. He's a pharmacist. If they break one mercury,
everybody's out of the building.
They have to call hazmat in. They evacuate the building. They have to decontaminate everyone in the building. And I'm like, really?
And I'm like, that's as much as was on that pallet of Coke. That's exactly what I was thinking. So,
can I give you a side of mercury with that?
You should all be dead.
Yeah. Well,
and like,
so Carl from Canada just said our DNA has self-correcting processes, and that's exactly
absolutely. And I think with they had almost a time frame that they had to essentially cleanse us by, which was literally the 2010-ish to now-ish time frame. It's not one date, but that. And they wanted to try to essentially make us there, like the Georgia Guidestone said. They wanted to cleanse 90% of the population and make a bunch of slaves with about 500 million people. That's what they wanted to do. And obviously they failed. They highly underestimated all of us, especially the ones that understand and work together like this. And they're screwed now because we're long past that. And now that exponential, woo,
exactly. Well, I mean, the whole thing about DNA, and this is, the more I've researched stuff, the more you realize that they know jack shit. I'm talking mainstream science, right?
Yeah. It's fun calling them out too. It's so fun calling them out.
Yeah. Let's not talk about this because there are some brilliant scientists out there. I've read some papers by people that are like, they call them fringe science. I don't know if you've watched the TV show Fringe, pretty fucking accurate, right? But fringe scientists. But there's a paper, I actually put it out there, and I meant to go back and sidetrack and go back and get it. It was written in 1983. I put it out in the Unfuckers room going, guys, someone help me find a PDF copy of this because it's 1983, pre-internet. I cannot I can buy one, a hard copy for like $45 or something.
But this is the internet.
You can't find it on the internet.
Oh.
I had like a team of unfuckers who are really good at digging shit out, go looking for this paper. And in 1983, the guy was hypothesizing melanin in the skin, the neuromelanin in the brain, and the interconnection in photonic light. And I'm sitting here going, this guy was fucking on it. When I was researching neuromelanin in 2013,
Yeah, I remember those articles too.
We don't really know what it does. It's this dark kind of shit in the brain, but we really don't know.
Wasn't it in the pineal gland?
Well, it's all through the brain. It's literally, it is something that carries a massive amount of information and energy all the way through the brain and hooks everything up, directly connected to all melanin in your skin. Your skin being your secondary endocrine system.
And it's like when you have more sun in your skin, it turns darker. So when you have more light in your brain, could it turn darker? So it's really dark matter in your head now, isn't it? Oh.
Well, you get into all kinds of shit.
Gray matter is black.
I talked about, and I will find, I've actually got the link saved down somewhere, hopefully. I really hope I've got
connect a dot here. Let me interrupt you real quick. I was listening to Sayer G. I love that guy. Green Med Info. You ever heard of that website?
Yeah. Yep.
Created by Sayer G. He was on the Truth About Cancer web series. And I think this was an excerpt from it, but he was actually talking about when we intake chlorophyll, green chlorophyll, shit that makes plants green, it can actually help our cells become more photoreceptors. So our cells will become more light. We'll basically be able to live off light easier when we take in more chlorophyll. So, and I've actually seen people who have they didn't even tan, but they took so much spirulina and chlorella that their skin was like orange. And that's why mine is kind of orange, because I drink a lot of spirulina and chlorella. People think I tan. I don't tan. I just, drink a lot of nasty shit. But
I'm done as much as I possibly can be. Like,
you're in Malta though. Yeah. I'm somehow tan in Seattle. That's impressive. without going to a tanning salon. But that's why greens are so crucial, and DNA healing right there. But also with the pineal gland. Ooh, interesting fact here. There's a specific type of algae called Klamath Lake algae. Only place in the world that grows is Klamath Lake, Oregon. And this algae is able to uptake nitrogen from the atmosphere and create neurotransmitters that help our pineal gland become more piezoelectric. So there's there's a lot of cool supplements out there you can find to help your DNA, and your DNA is the antenna, your pineal gland is the receiver. That's the way a good way to think about it.
Well, the whole thing is I think of DNA as also a receiver and a transmitter, right? Because it not only does it receive from each other, your DNA communicates all from each other. So it's receiving all of it, but it's also transmitting out. The thing is, I think it's also the transmitter, like you say, of like much broader than what we think. It's not just cell talking to cell. It's our DNA is transmitting outwards. And that's this article I posted today on rts.earth. I just put one out, and it's called Helix to Hologram.
Oh, yeah. I got distracted.
An older article. But read some of I've posted it. It's there, and I will relink it when we post the archive of this video.
You know what blows my mind?
What?
You get into this concept of, okay, our DNA is antenna, and our DNA is a scalar antenna. It works via longitudinal, not transverse functioning. Wow, right? Our DNA can teleport. Oh my God, we can teleport. Makes all sense in the freaking world. And that's why the little phrase "know thyself" was written in Greek on the Temple of Delphi, was because when you really understand, oh my God, like everything Scripture says, all of these crazy things that people think that aren't real they're scientifically proven. They can, religion always talked about them.
Right. Well, light.
Yeah, you got to transcend the dogma.
Right? You got to look at the whole thing of light, and then you get into quantum. Now you're going from the macro to the micro to the micro, right? When we talk about the photons, and we talk about DNA is made of light. It speaks, it transmits, if you will, by light. Mm-hmm. Now we look at what they're doing with quantum computers. The new big jumps are, looking at quantum computers written on man-made DNA. Oh, wait a second. So I'm went back to some of the research I did back in 2013. And one of the pieces I got into was on DNA and RNA and cytosine. Cytosine is one of your main components of DNA. Mm-hmm. And they were doing tests in 1997 using cytosine as the first basic qubit system for DNA computations. And I'm sitting there going, holy shit, it was already there. And again, we talk about the macro, micro, and we talk about things like the holographic universe theory, and we talk about, as in we are in a computer matrix. And then you start looking at some of these pieces that are coming out about the fact that basically this quantum computational stuff that they're doing now is what we are doing. We're already doing it, right? And it's, again, the antennas broadcasting out. Are we creating this reality? Are we creating this reality? Are we this matrix around us? Basically, just by transmitting out the hologram, that's what this article gets into. Some really interesting shit in it. Yes, I know, guys, it was a bit of a mind-bending article. You had to really concentrate. A couple of cups of coffee, perhaps, ahead of time before you read it. But it's one of those, yeah, maybe smoke something first, just to relax you. When you realize the fact that there's these pieces of truth are being dripped out to us, and I talk about it all the time, right? Like, they have to give us notice. They have to give us these free will choice, and they drip out these little bits of information. And then you start researching and you go, that whole matrix thing, living in a computer generated world, all of a sudden doesn't seem so far-fetched when you realize the fact that the pieces are already in place. And that's what they're doing on the micro versus what if you want to call what this is all around us is the macro.
Well, it's all relative, isn't it? Micro and macro.
Go away, mosquito. Well, yeah, absolutely.
And then when I think of quantum, though, I think every scale is quantum. Like, we're seeing quantum, obviously our DNA works on a quantum scale, but our sun does too. And that's just the nature of things. And the discussion on DNA like this, okay, they're framing all of this brand new technology around who we are, our freaking DNA.
Huh?
But at the same time, hey, Elon Musk, why do I need a computer chip in my brain if my brain is a computer chip? What
when that fucking bit came out, I was like, I knew I didn't like you.
I was in this market. I was in this local market the other day, and what I really love to do is go through the magazine section and then just do that about 5,000 times. And Pop Sci, Popular Science. There's another one. National Geographic. Popular something. It's all got to be popular, right?
Popular Mechanics. You can't leave out Popular Mechanics because that is a government propaganda rag if ever there was one written.
Oh, they all are. Time Magazine too. I saw Melinda Gates.
Popular Mechanics is just like, wow, because people are like, but it's not political. It's like science and stuff like that. It's real. No, it's not.
And I saw 4 magazines. Every single one, 2 of them, the cover was pure AI, pure like, hey, we need to basically be machines. It's like the next step in human evolution. And 2 of them had captions on it, but on every single article, something about AI. And when you really begin to understand your DNA and you see all of these a-holes trying to connect us with machines, why does that zero logic right there? So that's why this
no, it's called a move of desperation.
Yeah, right? Ooh, true. Yes, like, absolutely.
The aluminum didn't work, the fluoride didn't work, the mercury didn't work, the strontium, the barium, the fucking antifreeze, the pesticides, the GMO foods, all the chemicals, they haven't worked. So now you got to go to the hardcore. It's like, okay, we need to give these people like we're going to plug them in and take them over.
Yeah, exactly.
I posted a picture. It was Nick showed it to me. My husband showed it to me. It was one of the mainstream news. I can't remember which one. And a guy wearing how you have the old like headsets and the ones that kind of come around the back of the head like this instead of going over the top of your head.
Oh, for earbuds?
Yeah, for earbuds. And it looked like that where it came across the back of his head. And it was like new devices created to help you control your emotions, and you can program what emotion you want to feel.
Here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. That's when you get talking about brainwaves, which on one hand, it's all about not letting the computer enter you. If you're able to use your consciousness from an external computer, like I'm all for using something to help you alter what's going on if the computer is external, if it's simply using your consciousness and your brainwaves to help. But if it enters you, if they put a computer chip in you or in your head, that's the difference. Because when you get into researching how UFOs or how the extraterrestrial UFOs fly, not the man-made ones, that's what oftentimes they do. They have some type of consciousness interface where it either goes around their head or it goes into certain nerve centers in the back. And that's how they're actually able to manifest the material around them to fly in. Yeah. So, because they don't have rivets. You can tell it's an extraterrestrial UFO because there's no rivets in it. They don't make it like that.
No pop rivets. Really?
Yeah. All the man-made ones are just
in the Star Trek universe, I guess.
So yeah, I'm all for but it's not artificial intelligence, I guess, technically that way, because it's not an intelligence. You're using human intelligence just to alter material world, but you don't let it freaking in your skull, man. Oh, it freaks me out.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is the whole thing. I mean, then you go into the next realm and you talk about things like Morgellons, and we talk about implants.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing. I have been tracking for a long time the use of, or let's say, what we hypothesize and we suspect is the use of biometrics being placed into vaccines. And the best one was a company called Biosynergy. All the Aussies out there will know this because the Prime Minister of Australia's wife is like head way up there with this company. Because, that's not a conflict of interest, putting mandatory vaccine laws in place. And when your wife is head of a vaccine company, right? And you own shares in a vaccine, that's not conflict of interest at all. I went looking because I was watching, I used to keep a really close eye on the financials, stock market, especially in biochemistry and oil industries, watch where the big, massive jumps. And a company came in and all of a sudden they did 800% in one day. And I got like several people go, bing, 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 you got to go check. What the hell is this? So I went down research. And these guys, and they're a vaccine manufacturer. They're a pharmaceutical vaccine manufacturer. And they're looking at another cancer vaccine.
Okay.
And they're working with.
It always gets me. Cancer vaccine.
Yeah, I know. Don't Sorry. I'm like, oh, such a joke. They're working with their chief partner they're working with is NEC, the Nippon Electric Company, which is what it used to be called, but NEC. These guys are not biology. They have nothing to do with medical. They have absolutely nothing to do with medicine, biotech, nothing. So why is a vaccine manufacturer working with a technology company, a computer technology company? Oh, wait, the guy who invented nanotubules is their chief developer. What are they well known for? Their new nanotubules and graphene. Well, what do you use this for? Oh, connecting neural networks together? Now, does it take that much of a jump to go vaccine manufacturer working with a computer manufacturer who manufactures nanotechnology with one of the world's leading foremost people in nanotechnology is running the company, and they're working together on a vaccine? 1 + 1 in my mind equals 2 on this one. Like there's really no way around it.
Not that difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So we talk about the tech too. Now, I'm ex-military. I was in the Canadian military. So was my husband. And when you go through anyone who's been in any of the militaries will know, when you go through, they inoculate you, they vaccinate you 3 ways from Friday. I mean, it's like down the hallway, it's like here.
On the Vaxxed campaign, the most heart-wrenching interview that I saw that came out of the Vaxxed stuff is by a military whistleblower. There's a woman, I believe, in Alabama here in America, and she was on camera for like 20 minutes crying during half of it about how bad she felt given the anthrax vaccine, watching people just deteriorate. It's really sad.
Listen, we had a guy in our platoon who went blind.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yellow fever vaccine, and this wasn't even like when you get the yellow fever vaccine, which has been around for eons, he went blind. And the doctors told him, Yeah, well, we don't know. You might be permanently blind. You might get 50% of yours. You might get all your sight back. You might
Dude.
only get 20%. It may take 10 years or it might take 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. So anyways, we suspect that beyond, I mean, let's face it, who do they test all this shit on? It's always the military. In the US especially. And in Canada, I strongly suspect.
Well, it
Strongly.
has to be because they sign on the dotted line. You
Sign on
can't,
the dotted
you don't turn the
line.
wheel of karma when somebody signs a paper.
Yep,
So.
exactly. And I have Morgellons, and so does Nick. And we have pulled some shit out of our body, and I have because I'm a medic, so I have a full surgical kit that goes with me everywhere. And when I had a pocket microscope, which is now broken, I said, this is one of those things I need to get my hands on again. I need that again. We went through, and there was shit that we pulled out of our skin that does not get found in nature.
Yeah.
Threads, strands of stuff, and little tiny things that look like little glass spheres. And I mean perfectly smooth, almost clear spheres, and we've pulled them out of our skin. This doesn't get in there naturally, right? But at the same time, all of a sudden, in the last 3 years, they're being expelled. It's like the body is expelling this shit left, right, and center, rejecting it. The body is this amazing machine that really does heal itself. And I strongly suspect that one of the things with people with the rates of Morgellons skyrocketing isn't that more people are being infected, it's that more people are shedding this stuff, thereby knowing what it is that they have in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, you can be, if you don't know what it is, well, let's face it, it's not like a doctor is going to tell you, hey, you have Morgellons. It's not until you start pulling things out of your skin that you start realizing, whoa, something isn't fucking right here. What the hell is this shit? And I honestly believe that we're detoxing now. And,
yes,
and
we are.
a lot of the shit that we're doing is it's our body beyond what, I mean, yes, we need a healthy diet. Yes, we should be, doing what we can to help our body detox, but our bodies are already doing it on their own. Again, I can't prove it. I wish I had a fully functioning lab that I could fucking start, sending off shit and analyze it and get it all, all this type of stuff.
Yeah. On the other hand, it's just like an energetics thing. I mean, that shift of consciousness that's going on, it's spiritual and it's physical too. And this is the physical detoxing of that. And a lot of people are obviously going through spiritual detoxes, mental detoxes. Those are the ones that get triggered all the time. Trigger.
Well, listen, we're seeing a lot of that right now. Like there's been a whole, this last 2 weeks, again, it's been another, just watching people.
But talking,
figured out.
I think, talking about the vaccine issue is just one of those ones that's like the nearest and dearest to my heart because I have a 4-year-old and pisses me off hearing everything they do. So you can imagine a few billion people start to wake up to this, how pissed off they're going to be, how many Molotov cocktails are going to be lit. So
the one thing I said, and I had this conversation, I've got a friend here in Malta.
Mm-hmm.
Malta is one of those countries that has mandatory vaccine laws. At this moment, it's only the DTaP that is absolutely government mandated. But of course, they push them all. And you can't get your kid in school unless they're fully vaccinated, which is fine because I'm a homeschooler. Oh, but homeschooling's illegal here too. Go figure, right? Because if you can't get them one way, get them the other way, right? And I've got a friend here who's going through this because her 2-year-old is unvaccinated. And she called me and said, oh my God, Danny, I just made the biggest fucking mistake. And all I could think of is Danny's going to fucking shoot me when I tell her. And it was like basically the public health nurse called her and made, basically inquiries. And we don't have vaccine records for your son. And she said, I haven't vaccinated him. And because at that point, then I was just like, oh, you never say that. You never, ever say that. You need to get the, so I went through the whole legal thing. Like, you need them. They got to come. They have to prove who they are. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways. the thing with these vaccines is we're on a tipping point, it feels like right now. There's so many lawsuits being won, even with the vaccine companies being fully indemnified by the government. So like in the US,
Yeah.
86, now you can no longer sue a vaccine manufacturer. You've got to go to vaccine court.
I think that's the vaccine issue is probably the biggest red pill of all of them. I mean, fluoride, fluoride, people get it, but you don't see many anti-fluoride groups on Facebook. GMOs, people get it, the science is out there, but you don't see many anti-GMO Facebook groups. Vaccines, though, and this is why, is because of mothers, because of the divine feminine coming back at this point in time. Dude, how many Facebook groups are there with, I've seen them with 50,000 members of just a bunch of pissed off 25, 30, 35-year-old women who are like, my kid not getting poisoned. This is not going to happen. And they're the ones that are going to change the world. I mean, I'm really into like free energy and UFOs and all this stuff and secret space program, but the vaccine one, that's why I like to talk about it all the time, because that's the one I think is going to change the world.
Well, here's the thing. When we talk about lawsuits, so for example, in England, over the last year, there have been, I think it's 6 or 8 major lawsuits against the H1N1 flu vaccine with children who developed severe neurological damage. And of course, they didn't go after autism, because you will always lose, because autism isn't actually a disease. You can't prove autism, but you go after specifics. So they all won under narcolepsy. The children had severe neurological damage, and they were not severe narcolepsy. And they were billions of pounds sterling awarded. Billions. Of course, the mainstream media is completely silent about it. But we've got now this ball rolling. So you have movies like Vaxxed, and this is the Truth About Vaccines symposium stuff that went out. We're seeing this huge awakening. This is what takes down governments. Because as soon as one person, if they can get into a court, one person win against something like aluminum.
Yeah, and that's
just that one. Never mind mercury. As I always say, mercury is the one that is the distraction. Just fucking forget about mercury for now, because mercury's in a few vaccines. Aluminum
it's in the compound one still, the MMR, DTaP, and just like the flu shot. But aluminum, like you're saying, exactly. That's just as bad.
It's just, actually, in a lot of ways, it's actually even worse, because now we're discovering the interactions, like I say, with like aluminum and fluoride. Go get your children's teeth fluoridated, and let's put fluoride in milk, because that's a great idea.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of people are going to make those connections between, aluminum is like you were saying, it messes up the antenna, but it also, I think, would refract electromagnetic energies more so. And then you're looking, oh my gosh, in America here, Gwen towers, EMF waves. And we know how many trillions of dollars they spent on black projects in the CIA and Lockheed, how many satellites or how many things you could say are in the skies circling us, transmitting who knows what energies at us. We have HARP, yada, yada. We all know about HARP. So they could literally have us frying in longitudinal frequencies that heart attack guns, man. You vaccinate someone else and they go haywire, you can.
Yep. Yeah. And yet though, how many Gwen towers are, I had a friend of mine in the States, and I can't remember where he was at the time. I want to say Michigan. I'm pretty sure he was pretty close to the Canadian border.
They dress them up like trees now. There's a Gwen tower a couple roads down, or a couple miles down here. It's literally, they have fake branches on it. They painted the bottom like a tree trunk, and it's colored in green. Oh my God.
When we were in Morocco, they had ones that looked like palm trees. And at the time, my 5-year-old would go, oh, look, there's a fake palm tree.
Like, no, that's frying us right now.
Well, here's the thing. So this friend of mine went through, and he did the math. This guy was a math buff. And he went through and he was like, okay, let's look at how far the waves go. They're working on these frequencies, which means they travel at this wave, at this, this is their peak, this is the valleys. This is how long the waves can go. Therefore, given the curvature of the earth, don't even get started on me. We're not even going to go there. You need to have X many Gwen towers apart. And it was like if you picked in his county, let's say it was, I can't remember because this was years ago. He figured in his county that there would have to be, for the proper coverage for the excuse for the Gwen towers, something like 25 Gwen towers in his county. And he went out and he fucking drove the entire county and counted every fucking one of them. And it was like, there was like 95 or something stupid like that. And he was like, there's no excuse. Why would they spend this much money on these things when they don't need it? There's got to be another reason.
Oh, they need it.
They need it.
They need it. Trust me, they need as much help as they can get.
Exactly. And it ain't for your cell phones. So this is the thing. What I was saying about when we look at the vaccines, just vaccines, when the lawsuits start happening, and they will, because sooner or later, this just can't be hidden anymore. When the lawsuits start happening, entire governments will fall. This is how central banks will fall, because there's not enough money on the planet to keep. The precedents have already been set. Like someone said to me, oh, well, they'll just make like a what do they call that when everyone gets into like a lawsuit together? What do they call that? When they bring everyone.
Riot.
Well, yeah, riot. Yeah, exactly. But they'll just give everyone a set amount. I'm like, but they can't do that because the courts have already set.
Class action.
The class action.
Canada. Thanks, three people, and Rosanna and Sony.
Yeah, everyone's got it. They're all like, yeah, they read my minds quite well, actually. Because the precedent has already been set. And when you are awarding this person $15 million for vaccine damage, you can't just turn around and say, okay, we're going to give you all a blanket settlement of $500.
Yeah. Really interesting how Robert F. Kennedy is now. That's one of the things that does give me hope in whatever might be going on in government right now. We can argue controlled opposition or not controlled opposition, but I'm like, yeah, okay. I resonate with what he's doing. Like Robert F. Kennedy is going after exposing CDC and exposing, the vaccine issue.
And yeah, listen. And hey, if these guys can do it, fucking awesome. It's going to happen though, because the problem is the numbers. You can't hide these numbers. The programming is faltering. Too many people are starting to see and starting to question and go, wait. I've had my flu vaccine every fucking year, and every fucking year I've gotten.
And you're also noticing now, I mean, along the lines of your desperation, the powers that be's desperation. Yeah. I've been strolling through, my news. I have I'm gonna share screen. Can I do that? I'm not gonna worry about that. Anyway, one of the new folders I have, MSM rags to check. I check it every day and I go through, but there's been a lot of vaccine propaganda in mainstream media the past couple of weeks, and we're not even in flu season or sick season. And super interesting. So they are definitely desperate to get people their shots.
This one. So Brianna, I see that you're in the room. Brianna's in Romania. And about a month and a half ago when you sent me the articles about the measles? And all of a sudden, all the news in Romania was all about measles outbreak. And it's because we don't have a high enough vaccination. There's just not enough people have been vaccinated. Now the vaccine levels have dropped to only 70% or something like that. This weekend, Romania just brought in mandatory vaccines. And I told you, Brianna,
what I do
with all those news.
You know what I do now? I just drop data dumps. So on my local news or any local news outlets, when they run some story on vaccines, this is what I do. That's what you get.
Here. Yeah, I use that one too. That 1,000 studies is freaking just.
Yep. And that's what they get. And I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to change the world, is literally just data dumping. We can't wait for governments to do it. We can't wait for anybody else. That's just boom. So I've actually created a couple. This one I got from that Jason Christoph guy I mentioned earlier. But I wrote one on free energy. And I've got, if I need to drop this one on some dweeb, I've got a bunch of 50 free energy links. I can check this out from the Disclosure Project, this out and this out. I got
Yep.
one on the pedophilia issue, a bunch of like Pizzagate, Pedogate resources and whatnot. Like check Ben Swan out, check out David Seaman here, and freaking just go to town. Yeah, if you want information, here you go.
Well, you know what? This is the whole thing. I mean, the media is fucked. The media is just a bunch of shills, and I mean, government's hand and the bank's hands are so far up these journalists' ass that they
CIA, yeah.
keep them sandwich.
The CIA just freaking wiretaps them straight from the black vault of money that they get.
But there are a few out there. There are
Yes.
a few journalists, and sooner or later, you're going to get journalists who are going to wake up. It's just like doctors who are waking up and going, "Wait a second, this is like the third baby I vaccinated this year that's died within 12 hours."
And that's what we need to understand is in the mainstream media, there are people that know what's going on and they want to report these things.
Yep.
They want to blow the whistle, but they can't. We saw Ben Swan try, and he got what I would guess litigation against him for calling out Pizzagate. And so there's people that want to. So when I look at mainstream media, my biggest thing, and especially what I try to convey in my videos, is, okay, they could be selling us some bullshit and trying to killing us with this, or this article might be somebody actually leaking some soft disclosure about, like, for instance, MSN yesterday ran an article about 900 pedophiles being arrested in what's called Operation Pacifier.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, they could very well be some like controlled opposition or whatnot, or this could be somebody in the mainstream media trying their hardest to get out some type of tidbit.
A crumb, something that can
Crumb,
get
yeah. And that's what's really hard to decipher. Is it a crumb, like we were talking about earlier, to not turn the karma wheel, to put the truth in plain sight? Is it one of those, is it a bad crumb or a rotten crumb? Or is it a crumb we want? Is it, somebody trying to tell us? So that's like what I think it's going to come down to. I think we're going to get a lot of truth in the mainstream media start to come out, but we need to decipher whether it's trying to be like a partial disclosure or be like a kind of a full disclosure shtick.
Or a distraction.
Distraction,
or distraction. Back in 2015.
Like a little bit of misinformation.
In England, when it was all the investigations going on by the Scotland Yard in England over the pedophilia stuff, and there were a whole lot of people who were like, "Oh, yay, yay!" And then certain things would happen. I'll be like, no, do you not see? Everything that they're talking about is like before.
Big point to make right
this
here.
Happened in the 60s. This happened in the 80s. The 70s. It's not, nothing about now. And we'll investigate. And then everyone's like, oh, see, they're going to investigate.
Great, but they don't. And that's like, we need to be wary of the fronts. That's why, the people the powers that be are smart as shit. They know what they're doing. They know psychological operations. They know how our brains work. They have all their occult secrets hidden under the Vatican. So we really have to be diligent. And what was I just going to say before that? Oh, my brain left me.
Okay, well, here.
Anyway, I get what you're saying.
So, going to jump back into the conversation a bit. Back in time. Haha. We're talking about our DNA. We're talking about all these things. So, for example, light, etc.
Yeah.
I have had a gut feeling for years. I mean, even before I was really truly awake, I had this gut feeling, this thing about the sun. And regardless, I don't want to hear this, the sun's a construct, or the sun is a Stargate, Saturn, moon, something or other. Never mind. Whether you want to call it the energy, the solar energy, whether you want to even say where that energy is coming from. There's been a deep inner knowing that I've had that is one of those trigger points. And it's why I've watched the sun so closely for years and years and talked about CMEs and solar flares and different things like that, and the geomagnetic storms in their effect on us, because we have our own geomagnetic fields, our own magnetic fields, which are totally interactive with these things. So we talk about, and I hate using the fucking word. Oh God, I hate using the word. The ascension.
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 I like to call it the quantum solar shift better, because that just sounds smarter, and it hasn't been quite as, you haven't messed up that connotation quite yet. Like, ooh, quantum solar shift. It doesn't sound as woo-woo as ascension.
Yeah, I know.
And I also like those
programmed words, right?
Yeah, words.
You did a really cool video on the quantum solar shifting.
I also like those words because those words haven't been thrown out there yet. So if somebody Googles them, I'm the only face that comes up. So it's really cool.
Go.
Yeah.
And we talk about, there's been a lot of different, there's been scientists, and we're not just talking like, just a bunch of people like us hanging out on the internet, giving our thoughts and, some
We're talking about like Nobel Prize winners, best friends and stuff like that.
Right. We're talking about people scientists who have talked about things like the central galactic sun. They've talked about energy waves. They've talked about all of this kind of stuff coming in. One of the things that I found really, really interesting, it was actually a David Wilcock book and a set of videos that he had back. And he talked about the space program and the fact that when the Chinese sent seeds up into space and the Americans sent seeds up into space because they wanted to expose them to outside the atmosphere and then plant them and see what would happen. And the Americans, nothing fucking happened. But the Chinese, apparently, when they brought those seeds back down to Earth, they grew apparently ginormous, like literally, like we get tomatoes that are like this freaking big and melons that were like, And the whole thing is because they were exposed to that solar radiation, however you want to call it. Again, we'll just use a mainstream one. Solar radiation. And he drew the analogy about aluminum. And basically, the entire fucking American, whatever you want to call them, rockets, etc., whatever, are all made out of fucking aluminum. Therefore, it blocks all those rays. And that was I had a moment where I actually can remember the first time I watched that video and I paused the video and went, vaccines. Holy shit, that's why they inject aluminum in the vaccines, because it acts as an internal isolator from all these energy particles. But I digress.
And that's actually a big
back into the vaccine shit again, right?
But I had that same kind of dot connecting when I was reading one of David Wilcock's insiders. His name was Daniel. He's got a website called Conscious Hugs.
I know Daniel. I was one of the people who released Daniel's first papers.
Yes. I probably downloaded them right from that, and then I found it. Yeah. And right when they got released, I read them, and that's what he was doing, the same kind of connecting, where talking about he was using chemtrails, though not the vaccines, but vaccines are worse because you're injecting it right into you. But that's why they're chemtrailing the crap out of us, is because of, like you said, the solar radiation is. You could call it, see what I think is going on. I love solar weather. I love talking solar weather, is that because of this alignment that's occurring around 2012 or just this point in history, we're seeing all these kind of alignments occur where I think the geometry of it is setting off just some etheric blast, like you're saying, some life force energy blast that's helping all of our DNA kind of cohere. But we're seeing the magnetic shield. So the magnetic shield of the Earth is weakening. The magnetic sun is weakening. Do you follow Suspicious Observers closely?
I did for a while. And
there's
some stuff that I just don't resonate with him. And I don't have enough time in the day to follow everyone anymore. So.
Yeah, I know. I go through phases. I'm like, oh, cool. I do it just for the news aspect of it. I want to see what's going on. But it's interesting to see how magnetic of the field of the Earth is weakening. The sun is like dead. The sun has like 0 sunspots anymore. It's not popping off anything at us. But it's almost as if, it's almost as if this alignment occurring is making the magnetic field weaker. So a lot more of this life force energy can penetrate into the Earth.
I also have another theory on that too. And what we're seeing right now, and I've had multiple conversations now, and I talked about this in a couple of shows ago. I think Lisa and I talked about it on the last One People Roundtable show. People with good old-fashioned compass.
Oh, yeah.
They've lived in the same house for like 30 years. They know where fucking north is off their front porch, and they're pointing their compass, and it's not even just that it's now off, because I've been talking about the planetary shift, like physical shifting of the planet for years now. But now it's doing things like it's either spinning or it's like here, and then it's like over here, and then it's like over here.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to get a whiteboard for all of you guys here. We're going to take bets on the year, Because if you look at the map now, it's like moving at literally, I think, hundreds of meters per day. It's at.
Oh, it's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's like it's getting exponential. And in the past 1 year, it's been like 50 miles. I think it's over Siberia now, the north. And
yeah, I know. And it's yeah. But
and the South Pole literally is not even over Antarctica. It's like out in the ocean now. So I'm waiting for that day when it's just gonna bing, because it's gonna be quick. It's gonna be that quantum, and put some.
I know. You know what? Like, this is one of those things. The same thing. I've been tracking that for fucking years and years. I've been tracking with the Inuit. I stumbled onto that back in 2009 with the Inuit elders and the Eskimo elders talking to the people and going, the stars are no longer in the same place, and neither is the sun. The winds have all changed. Hello. This is not global warming. Global warming doesn't affect where the stars are. It's all right.
Yes, this is one of those inconvenient truths,
So getting back to the whole idea of talking about the energy and stuff. Our DNA are receivers and transmitters. And our junk DNA. And like you talked about it on the one video, like, our junk DNA. I'm like, I've always believed that it's just a matter of that will be turned on. It just all of a sudden that we will get into a point where either there will be a trigger, whether it's magnetic, geomagnetic, it's solar radiation, some kind of a high energy particle, that could literally trigger and turn on all this perceived junk dormant DNA, which would cause a pretty fucking radical shift when you think about how little of our DNA we're actually able to utilize, let's say, at the moment.
I think it's going to be equate to like a global DMT trip all at once. I think one thing we'll start seeing is Aurora Borealis planet-wide, and then very much soon after that, where it's going to start being right here. And I think, who knows? We can just speculate and like imagine what's going to be like now. But that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, and we look at this and we look at things like, for example, so then the same thing again. Why the aluminum? Well, it's to try and stop this from happening. Try and stop these changes from taking place. And then we go into the aspect of prophecy, right? And that's one of the interesting pieces, because you did the video on the science and prophecy last week or 2 weeks ago. And it was very interesting because when you talk about things like the Hopi, everyone talks about the Mayan calendar and the Mayan stuff, and they talk about the Hopi Indians, et cetera, et cetera. But broad spectrum across the board, it doesn't matter whether you're talking to the Aboriginals, the Aborigines in Australia, they all have this knowing of what's coming. They all have
secrets, occult knowledge, you could say. Let's call it esoteric knowledge.
Esoteric, well, even just spiritual. Well, I hate all those words. Fucking suck. The English language just fucking sucks. That's all there is to it.
Purposefully, I think it was on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, language tunes our DNA, so they wanted to give us a shitty Germanic language that just sucks. So when we speak it, we're really dumb.
And let's make all kinds of words sound all like the exact same thing, but mean completely different things.
Yeah.
Because sound being sound, and DNA, and our DNA has its own freaking language. Yeah, I'd like to be able to speak that language, let me tell you.
I think Latin and Greek. I really want to learn Latin because I think once you do, it helps you understand what the etymology of a lot of words are. And then etymology is freaking fantastic.
I have an etymology dictionary page open on my computer at all times.
Yeah.
Literally, it fires up when my computer starts. The etymology page is like one of the first things that comes up. It's just right there for easy and quick reference. But there's the other things, even things like the old Aramaic. We talked about that, and we talk about biblical, right? So even in the Bible, and I love the fact that you pointed this out because I've said this for fucking years too. Armageddon doesn't mean what people think it means.
Apocalypse. Yeah.
the apocalypse doesn't mean what people think it means. Apocalypse is...
You know, it's funny. I always tell people I'm trying to usher in the apocalypse because of that, and I try to gauge their reaction. I just try to keep people on their toes, you know? Be like, yeah, apocalypse is coming, bro. It's going to be beautiful.
And they're looking for the 666 on your forehead.
Yeah.
So don't get it.
I know. Greek Latin, to uncover or to disclose.
To disclose. And then the same thing, the book of the Bible that everyone wants to point to is the Revelation.
Revelation.
What does revelation actually mean?
Yeah.
To reveal. To reveal.
Beautiful times, dum-dums.
Yeah, get it straight.
But,
therein is your programming, right?
What I like to do is just try to find those common themes through all the prophecies, all the spiritual literatures, and try to find out what the heck is going to happen. I mean, that's kind of the goal here. We want to be prepared. So like you mentioned, the Hopis had in their prophecy, they said something to the effect of there's going to be a blue star in the sky. And then
the blue Kachina.
What's that?
The blue Kachina.
Is that what they called it? Are you being serious? Yeah, something to that effect. Blue star. And soon after that, the visions of my people will cease. I don't know how it went. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it said. And Dr. Paul Lavalette, who I mentioned in that video, he did his galactic superwave theories. And he was saying, from that galactic central sun, isn't it Alcyone? Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different hypotheses on that one.
Yeah, but essentially from that galactic central sun, once that certain quantum shift is reached, it's going to pulse out a bunch of gamma waves, and that superwave is going to occur as a blue star in the sky. And that's why, yeah, there you go. And then I think once that occurs, then we'll start seeing that aurora borealis all over the planet. Then I think soon after that,
but we already are kind of seeing that. Because
noctilucent clouds. Yes.
When I was a kid, like when you saw the aurora, I mean, I grew up in Ontario, but I grew up in Toronto.
I never seen it.
That's south, right? Like that's like basically like spitting distance from the States. We're not talking northern Ontario. I lived up there too. But there were the few times you would see the aurora borealis. It was like rare. Like, oh, wow. And now we're seeing, I mean, you can literally go do an image search and just kind of like almost type in like April 2017 aurora borealis, and you will get hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures from all over the world.
I'm going to screen share with you guys real quick. Desktop white. Hey, that's a whiteboard picture. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. Do you see it or no?
Is this the one in Alberta? This is Steve.
This is Stevie.
This is Stevie.
Yeah, my glowing Stevie. Yeah, this was on, I saw this on Linda Moulton Howe's website on Earth Files. She posted this. April 23rd, this is a couple weeks ago, we're getting weird plasma discharges, like everywhere, some glowing gas ribbon.
And no explanation. Well, I mean, there's two doctors now they're trying to come up with some bizarre, swamp gas reflected the light of Venus type bullshit.
I know. And also the phenomenon of noctilucent clouds as well.
Oh, no, that's really interesting because, I mean, here's the thing.
I've seen those.
I've seen them a lot. And I first started seeing them in January of 2013.
That's, no. I saw them, I remember. I was and this is in Seattle, so I was a little lower than you. Oh, I was at the beach at night with a chick. When was this? 2012, I think. June 2012. Yes. So that's when I saw them.
Well, for me, you'd see them, you might see a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd see, like, oh, is that, like,
and they were north.
And a little bit of color.
Yeah.
And then in January of 2013, they were ridiculous. These rainbow clouds, and I was seeing them day after day after day. And I know there's a lot of people say, oh, it's chemtrails. And you know what? Hey, I have no proof. Maybe it is all the aluminum from chemtrails crystallizing in the atmosphere and causing lovely little rainbows. But
no, it's not though.
I was
Because
like,
we talked with the clouds are 500 miles up.
I just don't buy it. It's one of those things where you go, no, there's something more to this.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to have they died off for a little while. Like you get a few here and there, but now again, they're resurging again where it's like, and the ones that we're seeing now that we're seeing photos of are ridiculous. Like it's like some acid trip painter went up and just painted these things because they're that complete. But there you go. There's your global DMT. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The Earth is having a DMT trip.
The Earth is having a DMT, and the halos are on the sun too. Same thing. I've seen them before, Beth Ann.
I think
but now I'm seeing them all the freaking time.
Yeah, I think those halos around the sun might be chemtrails though, because you often see them glow like a rainbow luminescent. And on certain real chemtrail heavy days, you might be able to see like a rainbow a certain degree away from the sun. Those might be chemtrails in my head, but noctilucent clouds aren't. Those are like 500 miles high.
Okay, so when we talk about rainbows, same thing. Since 2013, I have seen some fucking rainbows that have been mind-blowing. And I'm not talking about in North America, like, when you could do heavily chemtrail skies. When we were in Morocco, we saw the first one that we saw, and it literally stopped traffic everywhere. And we were right on the north coast on the Mediterranean in Morocco. And the light got different because we were sitting on our patio, which had like a big cover, so we couldn't really see the sky. Mm-hmm. But the light looking in the garden got really interesting. You want to look across the garden and go, oh, everything looks really unusual. And then one of the kids came in and went, oh, the rainbow, the rainbow. We went up onto the roof. And there was a rainbow that stretched from one side of the sea to the other side of the sea. It was a double rainbow. And it was pristinely clear, like as if an artist had painted it.
It's the Earth just showing off its pride.
And the color of the light was golden.
Do you notice that your eyes just look different?
Well, and this is it. But then we're talking about energetic changes, aren't we?
Sometimes I feel when I'm looking like on a sunny day or I'm looking at the clouds or something, everything just looks like it's shimmering. Looks totally different. Yep. And trust me, my eyes suck. I don't know if you could see those. Literally like 2,400. Bad. So when I'm, and I'm looking at seeing everything just looks clearer, I don't know. Visine just went in my eyes all the time.
Oh, listen, we've had this comment. This our Unfuckers group, we have been talking about that shit.
Yeah.
For a long, and it's amping up, and it's getting more. So I talked about the Tinkerbells that they were named. Actually, it was Daniel from the Daniel Papers, his niece, who named him the Tinkerbells. He was having a conversation with his niece one day about the little teeny sparkly lights that you just see everywhere up there on this blue sky. And she was like, yes, of course, they're the Tinkerbells. So I've been calling it that since back when Daniel and I were talking. And I've been able to see those since I was a teenager. So I've been seeing those for fucking years. And I always assumed, first of all, I assumed that everyone else could see them too. Shocked I was when I was about 20 before finally had a friend go, what are you talking about?
It's always perception when we're younger that gets us. Like when you assume that it's just a normal thing. Like most people when they get into the UFO area, when they're young, it's the ones that just, it's another thing, UFOs. They're the ones that always have the experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's their perception. They're not jaded.
They haven't been programmed yet.
Exactly.
Well, this is it. So what we've seen though is this jump. And since 2000, and that's why I keep going back. It's not that I believe in the whole December 21st, 2012 shit, because I really don't.
No, my friend.
You have to look. I'm sorry. There's been tangible changes that have happened since then.
Interesting on that. My friend Lance writes for the Mind Unleashed alternative website, and he just posted an article yesterday on how it wasn't. They actually talked. He did an interview with a guy who studies the Mayan calendar heavily.
Yes. Okay. Good. I wanted to talk about that. Good. So
yeah. He was saying it wasn't a date, and that was a big error that whoever made, or it was probably propagated for fear campaigns to make that movie and just scare the shit out of people. But it's a wave that's occurring, and it's just a cyclical wave. And the wave is essentially the cycles are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. and we're seeing the same stuff come around sooner and sooner. So yeah, it was never a
Kind
date.
of like time speeding up.
Yeah, it was never a date. It's just
yeah. Did I
brain.
post that? Guys, did I post that on RTS today? No, I did not. Okay, I will post that link with that one also in here because it was interesting. And the guy was talking about, he was saying, he was very careful to say May 24th of 2017.
Oh yeah.
Will be very
Interesting.
And he said, don't look at a date. We're not saying that something earth-shattering is going to happen, but it is a piece, a wave.
We'll see what the Schumann resonance does on that day. We'll see how we feel. Let's have all of meditation on that day and let's try to usher in that global DMT trip, you know?
The global DMT trip. That's right. Just make sure you're sitting in a safe spot. That's all.
Yeah.
But don't be out hiking on the cliff sweat day. Yeah. Was it in the Schumann resonance?
Mm-hmm.
And we're watching these spikes, and we've got a lot of people in the Unfuckers who watch the Schumann resonance, and they come in with the screenshots whenever it starts to spike up. And I cross-reference with CERN to see what CERN's doing at that same moment. Just because you got to check all these things. And we're seeing these spikes. And one of the things that Lisa Harris and I hypothesized is the fact of everyone's kind of saying that the spikes, these rises in frequency in the Schumann resonance, are aiding humanity, aiding us to raise our own frequencies.
Or we?
I think it's the reverse.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
that the humans, as we're literally our own frequencies, our own consciousness is spiking, that we are now seeing that reflected in the Earth's frequencies.
And an interesting data point that supports that supposition is that we saw a Schumann spike on Christmas and we saw a Schumann spike on Easter. What happens on those 2 days? A lot of people come together. A lot of people are with their families, and you know, as dogmatic as those 2 times are, it's a lot of people coming together, eating, have a good time,
eating lots of good food, eating lots of chocolate, because chocolate's got to help, I swear.
So it could very much be that, we are causing the Schumann resonance to resonate a little amplitude.
And we can hypothesize that it becomes a give and take, right? So it's kind of like we spike, the Schumann resonance spikes.
Yeah, two-way street.
That in turn brings other levels of humanity up. And then we spike and the Schumann resonance spikes. And as it gets higher and higher, it's also dragging the rest of humanity, if you will. Even those who are asleep are rising up as well, because the planet is bringing, the planetary frequencies are bringing them up as well.
And that's a big, big point to make, is that for those who are kind of at the tail end, way down here, it's going to get a little rough for them if they don't ride the wave, you know what I'm saying? And that's why in a lot of people's worlds, perception is everything. If you're perceiving everything to be negative in some shithole, maybe you're going to go off on your own little timeline and the Earth's just going to destroy for you.
No, I don't know. And okay, Carl, you just said planet or construct. Does it matter? Does it matter if we're on a planet or if we're on a construct or if we're in a fucking computer simulation? The waves are the waves are the waves.
The all three,
are the frequencies. Does it matter what it is that we're standing on, if in fact we're standing on anything? Really?
Technically, we're not.
Everything's energy, therefore nothing is solid. There's no such thing as matter. Yeah. That's another whole fucking, we could go on about that
for that conversation.
That's another whole one. Yeah, well, think holodeck, exactly. Regardless, we're seeing these frequencies fluctuate and we're seeing the rises. One of the other interesting things, we'll go back to talking about the whole prophecy type aspect, is that in all these prophecies, none of them ever said that it was going to be sweetness and light. Mm-hmm. They all talk about the fact that there's going to be trials and tribulations, i.e. there will floods, earthquakes, plagues, etc., etc. Well, isn't that what we're experiencing right now? Mm-hmm. Floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, plagues. No, the Zika's coming to get us all. Okay, not a fake plague, because I'm just taking the piss now. You know, like this is one of those things, like we look at all of this, and I'm kind of a realist. I like to look at everything as the observer and look at from both ends, from the woo-woo, esoteric, spiritual, if you will.
But science too, yeah, bring it down to earth.
And the science as well. And not just the science, but you know, the tangible that we're seeing around us. That's what I mean. I always joke about the whole thing, you know, people should be prepared. Really, it's just logical. Just be prepared. If you're prepared, then you're all cool.
Yeah, and it's no fear mongering. If we, you know, start seeing some giant blue ball in the sky begin to form, I'm like, sweet, finally, right? I'm waiting for it.
Let's just get it fucking over with now. Seriously.
Yeah. And there's also the supposed sun going dark, which I've heard different stuff about.
And Daniel wrote about that in the papers. I've got all the PDFs of Daniel's papers. Mm-hmm. The geoengineering and timelines one was, as far as I'm concerned, it was my favorite. It was really, really good. I do have a PDF copy of that. If I have to, I'll upload it onto ScriptD so I can put it into the article. I'll just have to.
Which one were you saying? The geoengineering?
Yeah, the geoengineering and the one on timelines. Both really, really fucking interesting. You know, considering those were back 2012, 2011.
Yeah, he calls it solar transition.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away.
I'm still learning how to use this Zoom. Oh, there we go. I have them. I mean, I can bring them up on my computer if you want. I have them right here. But anyway.
We won't get into them. I want to post them so
it's too much writing.
So everyone can read them themselves. And it's that stuff, like some of the stuff he gets into. But one of the things he talks about is Dewey Lawson's stuff about the sun.
Yes, totally.
Okay, and the fact of basically mainstream science, their theory, whatever, of the evolution of the sun and how it starts this color and this size and it goes like this is completely fucking backwards. And it's not that we're going to a red sun. No, we're going to a white sun. Well, isn't it fucking obvious we're going to a white sun?
Yeah, it's the little things, right? It's the little things that throw us off that they don't tell us.
Yeah, it's a fucking white sun now. Seriously.
Like when you look at the what they always show us what a solar system looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like, can I do this?
Yep.
Yeah, I got my whiteboard.
Oh, look, see, he didn't.
Here's the sun. Here's the sun. And here's Mercury. And here's Venus. Right? They show it to us in 2D. But the sun is moving. So what the heck? What does that mean?
You get that lovely spiral one that someone developed.
Vortex, man. And that's one of those tiny little things that answers a lot of freaking questions when you realize our solar system's moving. But also, like you said, that it's not going from, what is it, red to blue now that they say? That's what it does do. They say it's so conventional.
Ignore it nowadays. That's what I do.
I like to understand both sides. So if I ever need to debate somebody, I'm like, gotcha, bitch. Goes from blue to red. That's what they say. So the blue is the young stars, and then the red ones are the old red giants, and then they blew up in the supernova. Like you said, ask backwards. When you're heating up a piece of metal, what happens?
It goes white.
Oh my gosh! It starts red. Oh wow! And then it goes white, and then it goes blue, and then it melts. So what's happening? Exactly what's happening with the star. It goes from red as everything compresses, as gravity is a compressive force. It's not a pull. It's a push. Gravity is the inward. It's the yin. So as gravity is compressing everything in the star, it starts out red. It starts out cool, and then it starts out big.
Okay, and that goes on whether or not we even have that right about what the star, what the sun and the star actually is.
Could be a big old plasma ball of freezing cold inside.
Dollard's theory on this, that the stars are actually transformers. Like the sun is just a ginormous transformer. He's got some interesting shit in there too. The fact of the matter is, I like Dollard a lot too. The fact of the matter is, and we didn't go there, see it, smell it, taste it, touch it
Right.
yourself, and we don't know jack shit. You can hypothesize all you fucking want, but it's just a hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is, every time I love astrophysics, because when they put out these, and they come out in the mainstream, oh, well, we've come up with this, and I'm like, really? Who the fuck came up?
I know.
What's your theory? Right, gravity is one of your basic. Oh, right, it says you have gravity completely wrong, so you just built your entire theory on
bullshit. And then whenever they have some like time thing.
Yeah, right. And time. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's why I'm going to buy Dewey B. Larson's book and put my brain balls to the wall and read that thing, because I want to see how mind-blowing it is. Not only do we have solar evolution backwards, but time. His theories on space and time were kind of amazing. And I think I mean, obviously I can't say anything's right on the money, but it's something that I resonate with the most.
Well, this is the whole thing. So, and then, so we're talking in terms of a lot of the terms that we're using implies a physical reality, i.e., that everything is exactly what we were told it was. Meanwhile, we could be literally in a computer program. And every time I go down the whole Mandela effect rabbit hole and I start looking at some of these timeline shit that we're watching kind of implode, collapse, crash together, etc., you go, right, I'm pretty sure that this computer program has got some serious fucking bugs in it going on right now. And the holographics.
Or I think Mandela effect has a lot more simple explanation than a lot of people give it credit for. I really think all the Mandela effect is simply, yes, that PDF is perfect. I've read that a few times.
The reciprocal system, yeah.
It's a good PDF. But anyway, after that time frame, whatever you call it, 2010, 2012 to now, and that astrological alignment occurred, all that's going on, because for instance, Terence McKenna's time wave 0, right, ended around 2012. We had the Mayan calendar end. I mean, all kinds of different stuff ended then. All I think that happened is that in this new age we're in, our co-creative consciousness is having such a stronger effect, and we're seeing it happen more exponentially because people are becoming aware of it, so it's giving it more strength, in that time is three-dimensional. This is one of Dewey B. Larson's biggest hypotheses, that space and time are reciprocals. It was like scientific yin and yang. That's all he said. Space and time are reciprocals. Right now, in this physical reality we're in, we have 3D space in one dimension of time. How do we make time three-dimensional? Our brains. That's it. All you have to do is think backwards, forwards, and think now. So when you flip matter, flip something into time-space, that's when you get into the metaphysical reality. All that's happening right now with the Mandela effect is people are becoming, essentially our consciousness is, our DNAs are receiving, or our antennas are working together, and that can influence the past. It can very well change things in the past. And people, it's kind of freaky at first, but then once you understand that, you're like, oh, cool, if we all put our brains together, we can influence stuff. But we need to take that understanding and look to the future, is that we can actually influence what's going to happen with that Mandela effect, not just what has happened. So that's, I think, a big understanding, is that we need to put our co-creative consciousness together to basically envision what we want to manifest in this hologram.
Well, the biggest problem that we have is, of course, getting everyone to come to an agreement on what they actually want.
Yeah, get their shit together and not.
Right at the very beginning of the discussion, and we talked about the distractions. We talked about how they basically just take over everything that they can. So every time basically you end up with a leader come up, that leader gets sabotaged, and then they flood us with these fake leaders, right? They're going to lead a movement, right? Which is done on purpose. It is absolutely done on purpose, because the more times you can tear these people down, the more jaded everyone becomes. How many new people have you seen, like, let's say, someone comes up with, I have such a great plan. I'm going to lead this movement and we're going to do this. And everyone goes, uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
Really? Because we haven't seen a dozen of you in the last 10 years. Which is on purpose. So, I mean, I actually went out there and said a couple of years ago, I said, okay, I think if we can't get everyone to agree on what we want, I think we could get everyone to agree on what we don't want.
There you go. I like that a whole lot better.
Maybe that's
because what everybody wants is different. If you want to be a painter, go be a painter. That's great. That's not what I want. I suck at painting. You see my whiteboard drawings. But again, what we don't
say anything. I didn't want to say anything.
Stick figures. But like you said, what we don't want to be screwed. We just want to be happy. That's it. So yeah, 33 people in the room. It's been that way for like the whole time. Actually, I saw 34 once.
Well, so I mean, this is just it.
Confirmed.
If you can go to the don't get tied up in the details, and I think that's what trips a lot of people up. It's like, well, we'll get this big, grand, global meditation, and we're all gonna meditate on this day, and we're all gonna meditate for whatever, right? If we keep it really, really simple, someone said something earlier in the chat here about staying out of fear.
Yeah, that's it.
Step out of the fear. And for me, being the observer, staying in that observer mode where you can watch, you can see what's going on, you can hear, but you are not feeding your emotional responses into it.
You sound like Aristotle right now.
Yeah, no.
Mark of an educated mind is to entertain a thought without accepting it.
Exactly. But that's just it, right? To entertain a thought without accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like building a belief structure around it, or trying to define that thought by a previously programmed belief structure.
Yeah, and then the ego gets in the way, and then you have this expectation, and this expectation gets dashed. And that's why the biggest point I try to convey to people is we always say, look at the message, not the messenger. What's a name? A name is just a label. A face is just a construct of my meat suit. And
the construct of my meat suit. I say water bag. I'm just a big bag of water.
Yeah, I'm just a big bag of flesh and blood. And then you get people to understanding, well, all the best spiritual leaders were all the ones that said, we need to get you off your ass and understanding, you know.
Yep.
So I always resonate with the people that say, that are just the way showers that show the information, just say, So that's what I try and do.
Seed planters.
Yeah, the deep planters.
The seed planters, right? Because every time you bring up whether you talk about vaccines to someone, or 9/11 was an inside job, or chemtrails, or fucking pick a topic, they may totally not listen, or think they don't listen, but people can't unhear what they've heard, and it becomes a seed that sits here. And I've watched this.
You grow the seed.
Years and years.
You grow the seed, and then you fuck the plant. That's what they say.
Well, that's what they say.
And then once their consciousness is open and accepting, and then you drop a little more data and a little more.
Yeah, and this is just it. And sometimes these seeds might take years. And I've had people that I've spoke to years ago about vaccines.
Yes.
Who then all of a sudden, years later, will come to me and go, I really need some more information. You said something about some stuff about vaccines, and I need some information now, because all of a sudden they've had a moment in their life.
And I think
it's gone thud. And then
we all have different niches in that aspect.
Absolutely.
Some people are the ones, they need to be the nurturers, because people's mental constructs will start to break down and they'll start getting in fear mode. So we need the ones that are nurturers.
Yeah.
My niche is a little different just because who I am. I just put it all out there and be like, hey, screw your feelings. But that has to be done too, because some people are so ingrained in their ego that they need to be broken down. And I do it in a loving way. Some people don't like me. That's cool. But I do it because I care about people. So, and I like that what Carl said. He said knowledge his power is a fallacy, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I always say knowledge is potential energy, but what are you going to do with that knowledge? Putting it into action is power. Like Ralph Waldo Emerson, he said you got to do the thing to have the power. So, you know, like you and I right now, we're having this talk with 33 participants, and we're actually doing something.
Then the live stream is going too. This is just the ones who are in the Zoom room with us.
Oh, cool.
Just the close crew. Everyone else is on the live stream watching.
Yeah.
This is it.
And as more people get together and start putting their power in action, then we're going to start to see that wheel of karma turning, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So
yeah, I'm sorry. It's not time to be sitting on our asses and staring at our belly buttons and oming and stuff. It's time to actually get up and
like poor me, the Rothschilds are so rich. Poor me.
Yeah.
Cool, they're rich, but let's work to make money obsolete, fool.
Yeah.
Well, let's start learning some free energy.
Let's fucking learning everything, which is one of the things we're building in RTS.Earth. We're building an educational database. That's one of the things.
I'm going to go check out that forum.
It is awesome.
A little multiversity.
The multiversity. Hey, John Carl, take note. I like that. Multiversity.
Yeah, because university, we were talking about etymology earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One universe, one verse. In school, that's all they give you is the one verse that you must bow to. So in your school, we should have the multiversity. You got a lot of verses.
Take note. That's a really good one. I really, really like, and I'll forget it because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning for me now.
Good. I'll copyright it before you do.
Yeah, you do. I want to thank you for coming on tonight, or today for you. It's still Sunday afternoon. You can still go out and
watch a really nice sunset. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful here in Seattle.
They're in Seattle. Wet, old, gray Seattle. I haven't been to Seattle in about 22 years.
It's okay. The only time you're in Malta right now, but I can hear the Canadian accent. The only town I had ever been to in Canada was Regina. Do you call it Regina?
Regina.
It's Regina. Yeah, it's funny. I was like 12. The whole way were just bad jokes. So
yeah, the mad jokes. Trust me, we're Canadian. We all know it.
But it's only about 9 months out of the year here. The other 3, freaking beautiful.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have to compile a shitload of links of stuff to go along with this. And if you want to come play with us on www.rts.earth, I'll drag Jordan over there so he can come in and chat with the unfuckers as well. We're beta testing 2 different systems at the same time right now because we haven't decided which one we like yet. Well, I know which one I don't like, but we're testing a new one as well. So we're beta testing 2 different systems on the site.
Together on what we don't like here, so let's screw that other website and
don't like you get lost.
I'm in the unfuckers group now, so there's that.
Yeah, I know you're in the unfuckers group on Facebook, which is going to get closed down really soon.
Ooh, so I better come over to the RTS Earth. But what you were saying, that daily counting thing, I'm gonna come check that out. Like what you guys are all doing.
And you know what? I would love to get some of your input on we're trying to get a bunch of people together. JC John Carl, our producer, has got a friend who does a lot of that health, detoxing, etc. We've got Ann Callahan in Ireland, who, like I said, is a homeopath. We've got a lot of really knowledgeable people, and I want to get kind of I've started up even one forum that's just kind of our daily health tip. And just even if it's a picture, right? It's a picture that has got a little bit of visual memory. Put it in there. Honey and lemon and cinnamon kills fucking just about everything as far as viruses go, right? It's a work in progress. Yeah, building a database of information is one of the big things we're talking about right now. The multiverse.
A lot of people are following me on Facebook, and I think most of them are following me for my vaccine and secret space program posts, but I do a lot of health stuff in there too, just to drill it into people's heads. And I think people, I don't get as many likes on those because this guy is preaching to be like grandpa, but
eat your veggies.
Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome having you on.
Thank you.
And that is it for Transpicuous Views for this week. Unfuckers, we have our new show that's Wednesday night is the Unfucker discussion, which is called Unfuck It.
I love it.
Wednesday night, which is just the hangout, just free forum for everyone to just chat and bring up to the table whatever we want to discuss. I will see all of you guys Wednesday night, and I'll talk to you later, Jordan.
Peace out, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.